Wednesday night racing normally means Happy Valley. Not this week, though. We return to Sha Tin for an 8-race programme on the all-weather. A very warm welcome to Racing to Win. I'm Andrew Lejeune. I'm joined here in the studio by Paul Lally, our form experts, and race caller Brett Davis as well. And Brett, it's a very competitive programme as well. It is, Andrew. Yes, all-weather racing. We have, of course, a handful of these meetings now at Sha Tin for a Wednesday night. Happy Valley gets a little bit of a rest time. And yes, they're always competitive because generally we just sort of have all-weather races sort of scattered throughout programs, but we do now have 4 or 5, I think, even all-weather programs throughout the season, and they're never easy to find the winners, but always some value generally comes along if you can find them. It's an interesting mix, Paul, isn't it? Because there's the established dirt performance and the horses coming on for the first time. And I think added to that as well, we've got a nice bonus coming up too. We have a triple trio bonus of 1.9 million, so there's a good bonus there. Won't be easy to get, as Brett suggested, though, because it's there's some really good even races. I mean, the first race we've got a $6 odd favourite already, and that's sort of the whole way through the card. It's going to be really tricky, but if you do find the winners, then you'll be singing ragtime and dancing on the ceiling. We had 3 odds-on shots win the last 3 races. That's not going to happen this week, is it? No. I'd be surprised if there's an odds-on shot at all for the meeting at the Dirt, but it'll be good competitive racing, no doubt. I've noticed, I think, you know, the track's been reasonably fair, but those on the speed have been quite difficult to get past in saying that as well. So I'm sort of going to work around a horses that might be sort of in the first half of most of the races. All right. Well, speaking of odds-on favourites, let's look back on the weekend action. Of course, it was the start of the 4-year-old Classic season with the Hong Kong Classic Mile.
For the connections and fans of Nothing I Like More, this year's Hong Kong Classic Mile went entirely as they would have hoped, as the hot favourite produced a dominant display to win Sunday's $10 million feature.
Nothing I Like More starting to stretch away now from Singapore Sling, and more than lucky, but is a real excitement machine. Nothing I Like More from Singapore Sling in the Classic Mile.
It was a 3rd win in the Classic Mile for jockey Joe Moreira, after previous triumphs on superstars Able Friend and Rapid Dragon.
I was a bit concerned on the bank, to be very honest. He was kind of off the bridle, but I know him very well. I know that once I pull him on the outside, give him a clear run, he's going to dash on me, and that was the case. 200 metres to go, I knew I had the race won, and I was just so delighted to be on board of him.
After defying concerns about his ability to run out the mile, John Size confirmed after the race that Nothing I Like More will now progress to the Hong Kong Classic Cup before a likely tilt at the Hong Kong Derby in March.
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, he's going to run well in the 1800. The tempo's going to be a little bit different, but he seems to be able to adapt to that once he settles and follows horses. I don't think that'll worry him, and I'd envisage to go to the Derby as well.
All was not lost, though, for the Beaten Brigade, with runner-up Singapore Slings rider Chad Schofield encouraged by his performance as he heads on to the next 2 legs of the series.
Yeah, he ran a cracker. We had the run of the race. The speed was quite hot, but I was able to get away and into clear running nice and early. And the winner sprinted better than us. He sort of put 2 lengths on us pretty quickly. But the final furlong, I was taking ground back off the winner. So heading into the 1800 and the 2,000 metre derby, he's running it.
The Classic Mile wasn't the only race where Size and Moreira teamed up successfully with a short prize favourite, as Conti maintained his unbeaten record in the final event on the card.
Conti kept going from Simply Brilliant and Roundabout, then Ultimate Glory. It's Conti in front, Roundabout into second, but it's Conti 4-0.
Popular galloper Pingwu Spark also continued his excellent form, landing his 5th win from 6 starts this season.
Pingwu Spark with his head in front. Wame Friend won't give it up, but Pingwu Spark wins again.
The gigantic grey could now head to the Group 1 Queen Silver Jubilee Cup next month, while the Chinese New Year Cup at Class 1 level is another possible option for him. After the spotlight was on Hong Kong's rising stars at Sunday's meeting, next week it will be the proven elite performers in the limelight, as International Day heroes Mr. Stunning, Beauty Generation and Time Warp return to the track, hungry for more Group 1 glory. Yeah, it's a mini rerun of HKIR. We'll come back to that in a second. Let's start off, though, with Nothing I Like More. Did what he had to do, and it seems like full steam ahead.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, I thought the most impressive part of his win was from the 550 to the 400. We heard Joe say there he was just off the bit a little bit. He peeled him out and he quickly bounded from sort of 7th or 8th to attacking the lead within that space of 150 metres. Not too many horses are able to do that sort of thing, and that was very encouraging that he was able to put that down on the turf and then continue a long sustained run all the way to the wire. I thought Joe tried to teach him a little bit too in the run, just trying to get him to settle for the longer distances coming up.
Because we were a bit unsure how the speed would play out, but as it turned out, there was plenty, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. It worked out very well. Is he a true 2,000 metre horse? Probably not, but I've seen him with John Size of Feifei. He was a 1,400, 1,600 metre race. He got him out to the Derby. And so, look, he just looks too good at the moment. Interesting to see what happens when they get up those slightly longer trips.
In the first 300-400 metres of the race, he was right there, right in the first couple, and then sort of just, you know, Joe just took a hold, tried to get him to settle. I think they've got obviously the future races in mind in that process, but it was an outstanding win. There were some good performances behind him as well.
There were, yeah, so he doesn't move on 112, but yeah, Singapore Sling we heard from Chad, and Exultant stayed on quite well as well. He's going to love getting up in trip. Other big movers on the day, More Than Lucky, of course, ran in that race too.
Ran a fabulous race, More Than Lucky, as did Singapore Sling. I thought Exultant ran as most thought. Rivet made some nice headway too towards the end. Conti got another 8. California Fortune was the best back runner of the day. He got 9 points.
Yeah, it was a good one from him, and he bounced back well.
And Pingu Spark wins again.
Yep, just keeps winning, doesn't he, the big grey?
And about 150 people in the photo.
There was a lot of people there, no doubt, and they were cheering loudly. It's good for Hong Kong racing, the overall day, because we had some short prices and everyone was hoping that they might win, and you know we need some new good types heading forward, and we've got them by the looks of it.
They're on a bit bigger ride in the roller coaster there, aren't they? They're just loving it.
the Mighty Mouse.
Yeah. Right. Okay. That was the racing review. Horses to follow. That's up next. The Mighty Mouse at Luna Park, is that the one we're referring to? It's actually quite scary, that
Any
one.
Mighty Mouse, yeah.
It's a tricky one, that one. Anyway, horses to follow. What do you find for us, Paul? A first starter?
I have, funny enough. A horse called Pleasant Guy. Well, he's not a first starter anymore because he raced. But I've got Pleasant Guy as my horse to follow. He drew 14, which was a good draw for him. You can see he was just momentarily held up there. Not much, but I thought he fought on really strongly here for 4th. Now, this is going to be a good form race. The winner's got plenty of scope, and he's going to go on with it. Thou Shall Sing will be winning races very soon. Hot Pepper's been a good guide, and he was a clear 4th. So Pleasant Guy, I think, will win a race soon.
All right, and there were plenty of first starters actually on the day. Brett, what caught your eye?
There was 2 in the race I'm going to show you. I've highlighted Wishful Thinker, but Starshine, I think John put him up as a horse that had run well on debut. He finished 4th, and they both closed off nicely. So I thought this was quite a good performance from Wishful Thinker. In his trials, he'd been a little slow to move, but he'd whipped around them and got outside the lead in his most recent one heading into this, and then battled on quite well. And I thought he exposed himself here as a horse that's arrived on a rating of 74 but has scope to improve quite a lot. I like the way he found the line there. He's nowhere near 100%, so he's the one to follow for me.
All right, Chad picked up a couple of days for that in actual fact. We'll come back to that in a second. Plenty of debutants, they've been dealt with, I think. Avellino, I made him the long shot on the weekend after a luckless run 2 starts back. Got back here, and again, he just didn't get clear air when he needed it. I'm not saying he would have won. Sun Touch wins the race here, but just here he's just a little bit tight and then closer to the finish as well. So I think now he's in Class 4. He's a Class 3 winner. I think he's going to get his opportunity. This is over the 1,400 metres. He may even get up over the mile. So just here, he's just, Olivier's just looking for a bit of room. It's not there, so has to sit and suffer. Brilliant Dream goes on in front of him, finishes in 3rd. He ultimately finishes, you know, worse than midfield. So hopefully he'll get his shot.
It was a real sit and dash race, that one too, with Formula Galore dictating out in front.
It was, yep.
All right, suspensions. We touched on Chad. Wishful Thinker. We've got a couple of days. 31st and the 5th, plus 10,000. Craig Williams flew in. Got a couple of days for his trip as well. 28th to the 1st of Feb. Alberto Santa, Brett Preble and Douglas White from last week.
Yeah, there's been quite a few suspensions over the last 7 days, as you can see.
All right, OK, that brings you up to date with that. So we're 8-race programme at Sha Tin. All the races on the all-weather. One withdrawn, this comes out of the opener in actual fact. Whistle Up is replaced by G1 Union, and Pierre-Charles Boudot will jump on board. So 8s on the dirt, and it's our 41st meeting of the season. We start off with a Class 5. It's over the 1,200 metres with Sky Treasure carrying the #1 saddlecloth. He's a course and distance winner 2 starts back. Fantastic Fabia. He drops back into Class 5 company. Scobie Storm will roll forward from barrier 5. First start on the all-weather for Golden Deer. Rugby Diamond, another one likes to roll forward. Another wide gate for him. Dynamic Lines, Joe Moreira, interesting booking for him. And down to Hello Kimberley, who was third course and distance behind Sky Treasure last time.
Yep, race 1, 7:15 Hong Kong time. Let the fun begin, because it's going to be a very interesting night of racing. There'll be lots of different thought processes going into the card, and I think in the first, Rugby Diamond actually can potentially get a soft lead here. I think he's got most of the speed in the race, and I'm going to tip him to run a cheeky one out in front with no potential pressure. Good is what is expected.
Fantastic Fabio has a horse who's been working pretty well. He's already won on the all-weather this season. He's improved a little bit too. He sort of had a little dip. He did run on a wet slow, so he had excuses last time. But since then, he's been going nicely. Massive Millennium, another one that was allowed to let go in this particular gallop. Neil Callan will be partnering this class for a winner here in Class 5. And he was allowed to stretch out nicely. There's only the two. I did have Whistle up in there, but he was scratched. It's only two in the spoon ball.
Right, OK. Let's have a look at the key races then. We'll start off with Sky Treasure in this win. Hello Kimberley is actually a solid effort. Massive Malevolent and Rugby Diamond, who is out in front at this point.
He is. He got a little bit of pressure in the early stages, Rugby Diamond, and that saw him overhauled final stages. Sky Treasure has had two good efforts recently from two good barriers, but it's a different draw for him there on Wednesday night, barrier 10. That makes it harder. Hello Kimberley's had a lot of issues in his career, but he's still showed here that he's got something to offer. He's drawn low.
Yeah, for this one, probably Sky Treasure, because he's only had the two starts, and he did win one and then he backed it up with a third, but Rugby Diamond just dropped out too quickly for me for that one.
All right, fantastic Fabio. We saw there in track work. I'm sure he's going to appreciate getting back into Class 5 company. This is his trial back on the 12th.
Yeah, it was a nice trial, this one. And look, he did fail last time on an all-weather on a wet slow. Prior to that, he had some... No, sorry, he won on a wet slow, sorry. So his win was on a wet slow. He did then not go so good just on a normal track, but he does trial well on it, and I think he's going to have his chance. I think he's improved again a bit. Yeah, two trials since his last start. His win has been in this class and this course and distance for this jockey as well. So I think that combination with the drop in grade gives him a good chance.
All right, Dynamic Lions beaten nearly 30 lengths last time out. Joe Moreira on board here. He's 670 in the early market.
Yeah, unacceptable performance. The blinkers went on for the first time. I'm not a huge fan of the horse, but just from the barrier with Joe on, I mean, he's even niggled at here, final stages, to sort of find the line. Oh, the trial was OK. I've got him in on a minor line, but I'd tip against him to win it. Yeah, exactly the same. Got him in on a minor line, but not on a win line, I don't think. I think there's some better horses in here, or better well-credentialed horses.
All right, which are those horses?
I'm going to go with Sky Treasure. He's by Stravinsky, so he's bred for the surface. He's had two starts, a win and a third, and I'm not too worried about the draw. It's going to be a real fast pace, and I think he can slot in. So I'll get him on top to beat Fantastic Fabio. He's had two trials. He's coming into this race nicely. And then Dynamic Lions, I thought the race dropped away a bit, so we've got him in there for third. And Hello Kimberley wasn't a bad run down there as well. So I went 1, 2, 10 and 12, but I'd play Exotics. Yeah, I think Exotics might be the go for most of the night, actually, because there will be some value about. I've settled on Fantastic Fabio, not a great deal of confidence. I do think Rugby Diamond will run a big race, because I don't think there's a lot of pressure for him early. And he'll skip along. We know he struggles to run a strong 1200, but on the dirt they can often find a little bit more out in front. So him to run a cheeky race, Dynamic Lions. I've thrown in Helen's Choice, actually. Only had the one run back from a long break, but is a three-time winner on the surface and a two-time winner in the class. So 2, 7, 10, 3. I get the feeling we're going to have a few numbers on this show.
We will. Yeah, there'll be a few to throw around. That's the Class 5 race number 1. Second event is coming up on the other side of this break. Race number 2, the Peacock Handicap over the 1200 metres.